Today on Locked On Rockies, Dick Monfort, owner of the Colorado Rockies, still missing, still no comments, at least that I've seen, addressing the state of his team. Should we be surprised? All the while, some more voices from within the organization speaking up about what's going on.
You are Locked On Rockies, your daily Colorado Rockies podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Rock On Rockies fans, welcome into the Locked On Rockies podcast for today, the 10th day of June in the year 2025. I'm your host of the Locked On Rockies podcast, Paul Holden, bringing you your daily Colorado Rockies talk right here on the Locked On Podcast Network, where you can find your team every day. If your team is the Colorado Rockies, guess what? You're in the right spot, because that's what we do around here each and every day, free and streaming on your favorite streaming services, bringing you your daily Colorado Rockies talk right here on the Locked On Podcast Network. This episode is brought to you by Monarch Money. Take control of your finances with Monarch Money. Use code LOCKEDONMLB at monarchmoney.com for 50% off your first year. Today on the show, we are talking a little bit more about the reputation of the Rockies. And again, I don't know if this is still dragging things out for Rockies fans, but I think that this has to be the continued conversation throughout the rest of the season. It has to come down to accountability at the highest levels of this organization. And through a couple of articles from Purple Row, I think we get a highlight and a reminder of just how frustrating this situation is as a Rockies fan. We haven't heard anything but kind of just the classical lackadaisical type of stuff from Bill Schmidt. We haven't heard anything from Dick Monfort, and there's more voices from within the organization voicing their displeasure and their concerns with the state of the organization. I want to flash back here to a June 2nd piece from Evan Lang. Evan's actually writing both of the pieces from Purple Row that we are referring to today, both of the last Monday rock piles here for the Rockies here, both last week and this week. So some of the stuff might be a little outdated here and things like this. So just remember, put this in the context of this was last Monday. So pre-sweep of the Marlins and pre-sweep at the hands of the Mets as well. So let's just go. So again, little time machine here as we're flashing back to a week ago here. There's never been a team quite like the 2025 Colorado Rockies. They are fundamentally broken on every level. The starting pitching is the highest ERA in the league by over a full point and the fewest strikeouts. The bullpen fares better, but was one of the more overworked units in baseball to start the season. The Rockies offense has scored the fewest runs in the league in leads and strikeouts. They're staggering 185. I believe it's now what did we say? 196, 191. It's in the 190s now. Run differential is worse than MLB to agree that the only next two teams combined currently surpass it, and I'm sure that's only gotten worse. The defense, generally a strength, is one of the worst in baseball. The Rockies defense leads the league in errors and has the worst fielding percentage, along with an abysmal minus 32 defensive run saves. This is despite a preseason proclamation that this defense had the potential to be one of the best in MLB history. The infield, quite honestly, and if you like defense, and I like defense, will be the best defense maybe in the history of the game. Take a guess at who said that. With the record of 9-50, and now what is it? 12-53 is now the current record for the Colorado Rockies. Is it 11? No, it's 12 because it was a 3-game sweep of the Marlins. So 12-53. The Rockies are off to one of the worst starts in not just the modern era, but in the history of the league. They're at the absolute rock bottom, yet the person who made that bold proclamation is nowhere to be found. It's not the first. So let's see. Let's fast forward it here. He no longer sits in his usual seats among fans at Coors Field. He hasn't done an interview with the media since he told the fans the 2025 Rockies would be a fun team to watch after an event in early February. Members of the media, such as the Denver Post Patrick Saunders, have been unable to speak with Monfort despite multiple requests. He is entirely absent at a time when this team and the few remaining loyal fans deserve acknowledgement that this simply isn't working. I know I'm reading a lot here for this, but this sets the stage for us here. He's entirely absent at a time when this team and the few remaining loyal fans deserve acknowledgement that this simply isn't working. Other owners have managed to speak publicly early in the season. Pittsburgh Pirate owner Bob Nutting is an example listed here. Boston Red Sox owner is also listed here. And then there are the Rockies. On May 10th, the Rockies fell to the San Diego Padres 21-0 in a complete game shutout, something that's only been done 7 other times in the history of the league, twice since 1901, and it hasn't happened since 1939. The blowout loss at home capped off the Rockies' third losing streak of 8 or more games this season when they weren't even 25% of the way to the finish line. Yet Dick Monfort was silent and nowhere to be found. And he goes in and points out how Bill Schmidt has started to address these things, and we've talked about Bill Schmidt's comments here in the past. But it is time. It is. I mean, and this highlights it there. There should be. It is inexcusable for the ownership of the Colorado Rockies, for Dick Monfort to not say a single word, to continue to hide, to now pull away from the fans, to now slink back into the shadows, to pull himself away from the conversation when he is at the center of it. It does not matter if you're someone that is a casual or a diehard fan of the Colorado Rockies. There have been long-standing questions about the commitment and the ownership of this team. And it's time for this team to face the music. There's no more excuses. I don't want to hear your fall guy, Bill Schmidt, continue to take the bat. And mind you, Bill Schmidt, very much a part of this problem in this equation as well. But it goes to the top. We were again fed this. We were fed the hopium, fed the copium, fed this. And amongst all of this, of the turmoil on the field, there's still so much behind the scenes stuff that we don't really know about that is mixing things up with the Rockies, including the fallout of the regional sports networks, as we've talked before. This isn't a new topic. This has never been a new topic for Rockies fans. But in this situation, in this season, it is flat out unacceptable to not hear anything from the ownership of this team. It is unacceptable that he's not willing to speak to the members of the media, including ones that have been that aren't. This is Denver we're talking about here. There is plenty of criticism being leveled against Dick Monfort, but there are people that have covered this team fairly, that have covered this team with care, that care about performing, getting out the best product and the best coverage of this team possible. And by Dick Monfort hiding and not addressing anything, by not doing interviews, by not talking to anybody, by not answering questions, he is again and continuously letting down the fans of the Colorado Rockies, the dwindling count of those fans. It is his responsibility to be an owner, to take ownership of the ship that you are steering. You have not relinquished control and stayed involved in the baseball operations. And until you accept that your role and your responsibility in this has been flawed and has failed up until this point, the Rockies will not move on, and Rockies fans will continue to be frustrated and annoyed and down in the dumps. Because there's so many things, and I want to point out to a couple of things that other voices are highlight about issues within the organization that need to be addressed directly by Dick Monfort. He needs to respond to these things. He needs to respond to this team. He needs to respond to how 2025 has gone. It is unacceptable that he has been able to just slink back into the background and be able to avoid and not sit with the fans and not take accountability for the team that he created and the people within the organization that he enabled or got in the way of and prevented from building a team that should actually be successful. Because as we're going to go in segment number 2 here coming up, there are a couple of more examples pointed out by people within the organization that show that this team is far behind, that this team isn't investing in the right areas, that not only are they behind because teams spend money and can outspend them and, I can't compete with the free agent market. The rest of baseball is leaving you behind in innovation, leaving you behind in using your resources and investing those resources to develop players, and it's leaving a ton of questions. And it's leaving podcasters like me doing episodes like this where we're asking, where are you? What are we doing to address this? What is going to change? And I want answers sooner rather than later, because Rockies fans are going to suffer through possibly and still on track to the worst season in Major League Baseball history. And yet the owner is nowhere to be found and he's silent. This calls for accountability, especially in this industry. You don't get to just drift off and float away and say, I don't have to, I'll just stop sitting with the fans and, Bill, get out there and you handle it. Oh, not going to talk to any of you guys. Nope, not going to answer any questions, when all of the questions need to be answered by him. And maybe he'll do it in one big event, and maybe there actually will be change. But instead, why should anyone believe that the status quo will change? Because this is how he can do it. He can just sneak away. And again, I'm not blaming media, folks. Folks, if you have been following stuff with the Rockies, media is calling out the Rockies. And yes, some are, you would wish that some would go harder than the others. But when the Rockies being a laughingstock is pretty normal around the parts. And it's been extra highlighted this year with just how bad they've been. And I've seen plenty of Denver media folks holding the Rockies to the fire. But when you don't get any access, when you don't get any actual insight, and when you don't get actually communication from the organization from itself, you're not going to go anywhere. And Bill Schmidt's going to give you the same quotes. He's going to talk about injuries. He's going to talk about bad luck. And he's going to talk about, oh, just give it time. And young guys are coming, blah, blah, blah. He's just going to give you the same stuff. The answers that Rockies fans deserve have to come from the top. And I want to point out a couple of examples that really should show and highlight why these are situations and things that the owner should address. And he should address who is saying these things as well, and talking about how these people saying these things play significant roles in their organization. Let's talk about that coming up next. But by the way, just to remind you, that first piece that we read from Purple Row was from June 2nd. The Colorado Rockies are historically bad, but where is Dick Monfort by Evan Lang over on Purple Row. That is the first Evan Lang piece we'll read from today. Got more coming up from his most recent piece here from yesterday. Let's talk about that coming up next on today's episode of Locked on Rockies. Folks, when you work in the skilled trades, you don't want to be messing around with the wrong parts. The wrong parts means big problems for you. Well, save yourself some time and get the supplies you need from the site made for the skilled trades, Supply House. Whether you're in plumbing, HVAC, or electrical work, Supply House is the reliable way to order products online. Their easy-to-use website is packed with helpful resources and the latest product info to help you get the job done right. Plus, with a complete inventory of over 200,000 parts from over 400 top brands, you'll find exactly what you need delivered fast from coast to coast. And if you need help with an order, well, get this. Supply House offers expert support and industry-leading service, so you'll always talk to a real person. Yes, a real person. And for trade pros looking for an extra edge, their free Trade Master program offers exclusive perks like a dedicated phone line, free shipping, and discounts on every order. Thousands of skilled professionals are already taking advantage. Now it's your turn. Join the Trade Master program today at supplyhouse.com/TM and start ordering plumbing, HVAC, and electrical supplies with just a few clicks. Plus, use promo code SH5. That's promo code SH5 for 5% off your order. 5% off your order at supplyhouse.com when you use promo code SH5. Back at it here on the Locked on Rockies podcast, getting ready for Rockies Giants coming up this week. And I roll my eyes and sigh like that, because if you are an everyday, or if you do listen to the show, you know that San Francisco is one of my least favorite teams for the Rockies to play. They just seem to be a horrendous matchup for the Colorado Rockies, and they're coming in after a nice sweep, feeling themselves, trying to really launch themselves and separate themselves from the Diamondbacks here coming up in this series. Another team licking their chops for an opportunity to play the Colorado Rockies, especially at Coors Field, where it's more of a hitter-friendly ballpark for other teams in the opposition right now, as teams are batting nearly 300 against the Rockies pitching staff, as we discussed on yesterday's pod. So we hold our breath for what might happen there. Let's revisit and go back to our next Purple Row article I want to highlight here. Colorado Rockies voices are clamoring for change. And this is by Evan Lang here. And let's see here. Just to follow up on some of those stats that we talked about from the first Evan Lang piece. Now that Evan's had a week to update, this is what he adds in there. Although there have been incremental and individual improvements, the team is still on pace to cruise well past 100 losses and break the record for worst regular season record in the modern era. To their credit, under interim manager Warren Schaefer, the Rockies clubhouse is doing their best to view a long since lost season as a learning opportunity and not dwell on the painful records. Evan then goes on to talk about the Ryan McMahon Freeland quotes that we've already talked about from the ESPN article here. But let's get a couple about what Schmidt has had to say about this. Monfort's right-hand man for baseball operations, general manager Bill Schmidt, has also failed to take accountability for a team that he ostensibly helped to build. Schmidt often falls back on blaming injuries and poor play for the state of the Rockies are in currently, while also offering praise or offering sympathy towards his employer. It is what it is, Schmidt recently told The Athletic. Boy, I love that. Thanks, Bill. It is what it is. Sure is. Yeah, that's the great analysis of that. Water off the back. It's how it is what it is. It's how it happens. Everyone happens to be the worst team in baseball from time to time, in baseball history from time to time. I mean, hey, we were due. It was 100+ years or whatever. God knows what it was until a team. So, we were due for that regression. Sure. We're trying to get better. I feel bad for our fans. They're loyal. They care. Our ownership's good. They care. I believe we talked about this quote before. We've got to turn it around somehow. Also told ESPN, I'm embarrassed by what was transpired. It's the most we've seen in terms of accountability from the Rockies front office, back in the words of Evan Lang here. However, there are voices within the Rockies organization that recognize what is happening and are clamoring for change. Interim manager Warren Schaefer is among them. This is extremely personal to me, Schaefer told The Athletic. It's all I think about day and night. I've only ever been a Rocky, and the Rockies have never won the West. The Rockies have never won the World Series. These are all things that are very, very important to me, and I think the opportunity is ripe at the moment to start building for that. Schaefer has consistently referred to the season as an opportunity for learning, growth, and change. He's backed up by his bench coach and former Rocktober manager Clint Hurdle, who also recognizes that the Rockies' severe insularity is a problem that is the team playing catch-up. There's too much information out there. There's too many other teams doing things well in areas that we could use an improvement to knock on some other doors. And I think we're doing more of that. We added to the R&D staff because 3 years ago it was pretty much non-existent. Wow. What also happened around 3 years ago? The team made a massive switch from the team. Instead of building off of the success that they were already seeing, the team made drastically different moves, moved on from some players, brought on Bryant, and it was all at the time, it was a non-existent R&D staff. I wonder if that's connected. I wonder if that's connected at all. And I wonder when we're told that the people are making the right calls and the people that were there, oh, this is the right move. This is the right thing. We're going to make sure that this is the right step for the organization. Where are we since 2021? Let's go back to Hurdle's quote here. We've now got about 20 people, and it's become more real. We put ourselves probably behind the pack in some areas, and it's made it tough. Now we're catching up, and it is tough to play catch up initially. That's why it looks like the Rockies are so far behind other teams on the field, because they are so far behind other teams on the field. They didn't look into the ways to help unlock different parts of their games. They didn't look for creative solutions. They told everyone, and they told the Rockies fans, that these other solutions don't work and that everything that they're trying is going to pan out, and we know what we're doing, and those outside opinions, they're just not going to work. They shut it all down. They said it's all under control. They said that everything's going to pan out and give you the hope, give you the time. Well, we're still waiting, and we're still hoping. And that hope and that patience is wearing real thin. I mean, this isn't new information, folks, right? People knew about the Rockies being behind the 8-ball and R&D and analytics. Remember a certain analytics department doing laundry, of course, for the Colorado Rockies during the pandemic. It's no surprise that when you really look at how the Bill Schmidt and the post and era has gone and everything that has followed the Rockies since 2021, it's no surprise that when you're this far behind in a game that's rapidly evolving and rapidly changing and becoming different, this is how you create the worst team in baseball history, by buying into your own BS and thinking that you got it all figured out and it's all going to work according to your planning. We don't need what the rest of baseball's doing. We got Coors Field and Rocktober vibes, baby. Come on in. Example after example after example highlight the missteps of this organization and highlight just how big of a problem it is to be this far behind. Not only are the bad teams, the game of baseball itself is leaving you behind, and you're okay with it. Here's what Rockies play-by-play announcer Jack Corrigan told the Dan Patrick show here. Discuss the Rockies' need to invest more resources into their minor league system and player development. Corrigan, 72, has been the voice of the Rockies on the radio since 2002 after spending the previous 18 years as a broadcaster for the now Cleveland Guardians. At their low A team, they have 3 coaches. Well, when I started with the Indians in 1985, the low A team had 3 coaches. The way the game is, you need more than that, and a lot of teams are doing that. Patrick then asked if that meant the ownership was not committed. In that regard, it does not appear to be that way. That's the challenge that maybe this year finally pushes them over the precipice, if you will, and they spend some money in that regard. They do have some good young talent in the system, but probably not enough to overcome the draft misses and the injuries. Bro, I mean, yeah. Imagine sticking with the same philosophy as 1985, 40 years later in the game of baseball. The money exists to invest in this team, to create a great team, and in result, a bigger moneymaker for them. You know what will get more butts in the seats is when the Rockies are good and Rockies fans want to go time and time again, instead of solely relying on other teams to fill up your ballpark like we just saw New York do again. The rest of Evan's article goes and points to quotes and everything that we've talked about before. But I thought it was important to revisit these things because when you hear from Clint Hurdle and when you hear from Jack Corrigan, when you're talking about Rockies lifers and telling you that this shows that this team is behind, that this team is not investing in the right ways, that this team, and again, not like breaking news, right? It's not like they're really like going out there and leaking sensitive information from within the Rockies organization. But when you have guys like that, you have to acknowledge it. You have to realize that this isn't something just to be, oh, let's get down on Dick Monfort. Let's be mean to him. No, this is just, hey, this is the fact. This is the truth. This is the industry. This is what's happening. And if your feelings are hurt, then that's unfortunately part of the game. You're an owner of a sports team. And when your sports team stinks, the owner falls under fire, especially when you're an owner that's performed and done the stuff that Dick Monfort has or has not done. I just think it's I think that will be I think when as we continue to hear from people within the organization, people that are close to the top, people that have good relationships and legacy and history with the Rockies, when they are criticizing and critiquing it, he has no choice but he has to listen to them. He might not actually listen to Rockies fans. He might not actually care about the vast majority of the media members and what they have to say. But if the inner circle of Dick Monfort is starting to criticize and critique, he really has no choice but to address it, because the ultra loyalty and the commitment to that loyalty, maybe it's wearing thin, but at the same time, that Rockies loyalty is a huge factor. All right, we're long overdue for a break. Let's land this plane and put a bow on it. We'll read some YouTube comments here and more to finish up the show. Don't go anywhere. Before we do that, though, got to tell you about the folks that help make this show possible, and that includes Monarch Money. And who can't relate to this? Ever check your bank account and wonder, where did all my money go? Between dining out, online shopping, and entertainment, it's easy to lose track. That's where Monarch Money comes in, your personal CFO. Yes, that's right. It is going to be your complete financial command center all on one app. It's going to give you full visibility and control over your finances and make things just a little bit easier for you. Monarch Money isn't just a budgeting app. Like I said, it's a complete financial command center. You can track all your accounts, investments, and spending all in one place, so you stop just managing your money and start building wealth. Hey, if you got a partner, whether it be your wife, whether it be business partner, you can manage money together with easy collaboration. Managing the money with your partner is smoother than ever. You can track shared and personal accounts, set goals, and stay on the same page without the stress. And like I said, it's all in one place. Forget the multiple apps, forget the multiple browser tabs. Instead of juggling all those, you can use Monarch to check your finances, track spending, and even plan long-term goals. Take control of your finances with Monarch Money. Use code LOCKEDONMLB at monarchmoney.com for 50% off. Yes, 50% off your first year. That's monarchmoney.com, code LOCKEDONMLB for half off your first year. Back at it here for segment number 3 of Locked On Rockies. Thank you all so much for making us your first listen of the day. Off day for the Roccos yesterday as they get ready to welcome the San Francisco Giants into town. Here's what you Rockies fans had to say about the most recent game here. And Rogue Wave Creative says they did not sweep them back to reality. As a fan of any major leaguer, it was nice to see the Colorado players do something against Miami. The unfortunate truth is, unless this team is literally embarrassed, the organization, the owner does not have enough humble in him to see over his nose. This will continue even if they keep losing, as Monfort seems capable of logicalizing, yes, not a word, anything for his ego. It is so sad. If you really want a lesson in when this started its sideways trajectory, go to the death of Kelly McGregor. It really seemed like he kept the owner in check, and since then he has been the emperor it has been the emperor has no clothes, and so what? And strong comments there from Rogue Wave. And again, Kelly McGregor's death happened when I was a little bit younger, so I don't think I was fully able to comprehend exactly what happened. But I mean, look at the timeline and look at where things happen. RK says Freeman and Hilliard need to be batting in the 4 and 5 spots until they cool off. I'm sick of seeing Doyle and McMahon go combined 1 for 8 every game in those spots of the lineup. Seems like wherever I check a box score, the top 2 spots all get a hit, and then it's a black hole with 0 hits until you get to the 9th spot in the lineup. There's almost always 0 production from the 4 through 8 spots, like not even a single hit usually. Yeah, I mean, the Rockies offense has a huge problem. I think Doyle, again, it's been weird for him, up in the lineup, down in the lineup. I think trying to find a way to get him back in that back half of the lineup, hopefully build up that confidence, build up that ability again there, mixed with, I mean, everything else, mental game. And there's a lot of mental blocks going on there when it comes to Brenton Doyle. I mean, not blocks, I should say, mental stuff to deal with. Just a lot of things going on in that world. But I think getting him out of that top of the order and letting him be back in the lineup where he was so successful should be able to help. Lux A says, I was at the game 2 for the Doyle bobblehead. Rockies had just as much hits as the Mets, but couldn't score whatsoever. It's really frustrating. I think the Rockies need to stop drafting power and strikeout guys, or not sign power and strikeout guys. They need to have players that can put the ball in play. Anything can happen at Coors Field. People misjudge playing the outfield all the time. Bloops can fall in and you hit more gap shots. They need to stop judging players off their eyes. Get people who consistently put the ball in play. We'll be able to score more runs at Coors Field. I mean, it's they need everything on offense, and they certainly need some players to be able to step up and commit. Not whether it be long balls, whether it be just short singles. Yes, the Rockies need more contact guys, but the Rockies just need a complete offensive overhaul in general. Robert says, I get it, Paul. How about all this for all you Rockies hopefuls? Mantle, Maris, Ruth, Garrick, Hilliard, freaking Rockies. A guy wasted for the last 3 years is now making his way to the Mount Rushmore of Rockies because of a pinch hit home run. It's just total losers and fans and announcers too. Got to push back here. I mean, again, you're the fan of the team. Like, I don't know. I'm a Rockies fan, and you're missing the point of a silver lining of the Sam Hilliard story of the weekend. It's ALS weekend. Sam Hilliard returns from the minors, has a strong performance, and has kind of been a fine bench option for him. He's certainly not in the Mount Rushmore of Rockies, but when you take into the consideration of what the weekend was and his connection to ALS and everything, to see him perform and to do things, I certainly wouldn't call it that. And then so let's see, some criticizing. The announcers talk about everything except what's happening on the field during the game. They have had to do that a lot this year. I mean, there's been a lot of fill for the Rockies on the broadcast side there, but I don't know. It's there's a whole list of frustrations there, but I don't know. I'm not going to get too hopped up on the broadcast there for trying to make some of these terrible games a little bit more entertaining and celebrating Sam Hilliard on a weekend where he performed well, and his family, who's very involved in ALS and getting it to be at the forefront of Major League Baseball, getting a little bit more eyes on what he's doing there. Jim says, how can Dick Monfort say the Rockies don't have a losing culture when they are mostly losing? And also asks about where I got my Blake Street Bomber shirt. Honestly, I got that from, I think one of the sporting goods stores there. It might have been Sports Authority at South Glen back in the day, or Dick's before it closed. I can't remember which one it was over there, but I bought that, I think, close to a decade ago. It's a Nike shirt, Blake Street Bomber Nike shirt. So maybe search that up online, and you'll be there to go. But But all right, that is going to do it for us today here on Locked On Rockies. Thank you so much for making us your first listen of the day. We'll be talking Rockies Giants, of course, on tomorrow's show and get back to the game coverage here, but got to keep looking big picture on off days and when there's no game to break down as well. Folks, thank you again for making us your first listen of the day. For your second listen, go check out Locked On MLB and Locked On MLB Game Night. And of course, if you need more Colorado sports coverage, Locked On Broncos, Avalanche, Nuggets, and Buffs, all free and streaming on your favorite streaming services. Until next time, I'm Paul Holden saying so long from the Locked On Rockies podcast.